Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Today I'm going to talk to one of the proven Amazon course students from our community who has built an incredible business around the wholesale concepts. He's actually become the leader in our community on that topic. He's launching a brand new mastermind that we're calling the Advanced Wholesale Mastermind.com. You can get over there as of this podcast episode releasing. The mastermind has launched, advancedwholesalemastermind.com. If you happen to be listening to this show after the doors have already closed, there's still a ton of very valuable tips for anybody who's wanting to get into wholesale. I'm going to be speaking with Carl Jacoby today. He's a great leader in our community. He has built a $13 million Amazon selling business around wholesale selling concepts. He's aiming for $36 million next year. Pretty incredible, right? He's found and worked with not just dozens, but hundreds of wholesale and distributors. So he's really dialed in this method. One of the things he shares with us today that you're about to hear on the interview is the fact that from his vantage point, maybe only 30 to 40% of the wholesalers out there have been hunted down and hounded and pursued by Amazon sellers. And they're kind of in that state of saying, hey, great, another Amazon seller. Who needs that? Right. Because that's the impression some people have with wholesale. It's like it's kind of saturated. Well, no, not from his perspective at all. 70, 60, 70% of them just haven't been approached the right way yet or approached at all yet with the right offer. So that is the magic. And it's evidenced by a 40,000 square foot warehouse, a team of 17 people, some virtual assistants. They're all using the REPLENS model that is the base model that we teach in the proven Amazon course to make good inventory buying decisions. They're not setting up new listings on Amazon. They're not bringing new products to the market. They're not even looking for exclusive deals with these wholesalers and distributors. Now, this multi-million dollar business is built on replens sourced through wholesale channels. And if you're interested in being a part of this mastermind that's launching very soon, as of the date of this podcast episode launching, you need to get over to advancedwholesalemastermind.com. There's going to be information in the show notes with details about it, as well as that website, advancedwholesalemastermind.com, has all the information about the discounts for our coaching students. Maybe you're one of our coaches, working with one of our coaches on the Jim Cockrum coaching team. Maybe you're a proven Amazon course student. We've got a tremendous discount set up for you for this advancedwholesalemastermind.com offer. So get over there and you'll see the details on those discounts. If you want to contact our support team with any questions, there's a link to all that at silentjimdotcom in the show notes for today's episode. So enjoy this episode with Carl Jacoby. He spoke recently at our conference on this topic to a packed room that couldn't wait for the launch of this mastermind offer. So you're going to be in very good company if you join this mastermind community and go through this. It's a 10-week series, meeting once a week on Wednesday evenings. It's all recorded for you if you miss the sessions. There's going to be plenty of chances to interact with the other students because there's going to be a Facebook group set up exclusively for this community. You're going to have a blast learning how to go through this wholesale process. And check this out. You'll hear Carl mention this as well in today's episode. You're going to walk away with at least 10 wholesale companies that you can find profitable products for your Amazon business. That's what you're going to walk away from this experience. If you don't have that at the end of the 10 weeks, we're going to work with you till you got it. That's what we're setting up here for our community who decide to go through this process with us. So enjoy this time spent, a little recap of Carl's story, and then we dive into some very specific wholesale tips and strategies. Even if you're not going to join us for this mastermind, like I said earlier, you're going to get a lot of great tips today. Enjoy this episode. Thanks for hanging out with us on Silent Sales Machine Radio today. You're going to enjoy this. So Carl, welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah, good to see you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Good to be here with you.
This is going to be a good time. We did a little chatting beforehand, but we just had to hit the record button to get some of this good stuff for all the listeners today. So, man, it's been a while since you've been on the show. You've become a leader in our community. Like I mentioned in the intro, you've presented at our conferences. You've created some great content for us already and done some things around here. But we got some new stuff cooking. But how about we start here? Let's get us updated. business life since last time we talked to the audience here? What's been going on?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks again for having me. So, yeah, a lot has changed. If anybody has looked at my previous or reviewed the previous episode to see where I was at today, we've gone exclusively into wholesale. Got a pretty sizable business on the Amazon platform, as well as other platforms. But Amazon consists about 85 to 90% of what we do. And it's exclusively wholesale. We don't do any arbitrage. We don't do any online arbitrage. No more books. None of that. It's strictly just wholesale. We partner with brands, partner with distributors, forming relationships, and yeah. I mean, that's where we are today. Progressively, we've been progressing quite well every year. So this year we're expected to hit roughly 13 million in sales, roughly around 20% margins. That's gross, of course. And so next year we have some extremely aggressive goals where we plan to hit 36 million in sales with the infrastructure that we're putting together now, along with some working capital. So,
Is that all through
yeah,
your own warehouse?
yes, it is.
How
Yep,
big is that? How many square foot is that?
we have 40,000 square feet.
And that's
Uh,
just your wholesale. Is there anything else going on in there?
yes, we do have our own 3PL or prep center. We have a handful of clients. Doesn't really. It's just more of kind of like the gravy of what we do,
Yeah,
but mostly consists of our supporting
gotcha.
our business.
Are you guys
Yep.
recruiting clients by any chance? Not to get too much on that off on that. Probably
Not
not.
really.
I didn't think
No,
so because I'm
no,
not either.
no,
I just want to make
no.
sure you
We
guys are on
just,
our Prep Center Network list, which another topic for another day because we're talking about
yeah,
putting some
absolutely.
content together for that is there is a lot of need for people of character and integrity and skill to run good quality prep centers for
Yes.
this community. You're booked out,
Hmm.
I'm booked out, a lot of good people are booked out. So yeah, prepcenternetwork.com is our free list. I was just curious for my own purpose. I wasn't sure if you guys were still taking clients or not, but yeah, man, that's some
No,
impressive numbers. 13 million heading for a goal of, did you just say 36 for next year?
36 million. Yes, sir.
Dude, that's rapid growth. That comes with some interesting challenges too.
It does. We would actually be much further ahead where we are now, but we had to revisit our infrastructure. It's just, we'd had to do a lot of changes with our
Mhm.
infrastructure, our buying process, our SOPs, our systems, software. We're developing our own software for our company, not for commercial, but for our own company to sustain our infrastructure to get us to our goals.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much where we are.
And you
But
said, just to make sure I'm clear on the number, 20% gross. That's before anybody
mhm,
gets paid.
that's correct.
Once
That's
you take
correct.
out
Yep,
payroll, it's still a profitable business
very much.
by a long
Yes.
shot. Yeah, that's fantastic,
Yep.
man. I love it. So how big of an operation as far as like how many people are walking in that building any given day and helping run this thing?
So, in terms of people, personnel, we have 17 team members. It consists of various different roles. We have a couple of team managers, general manager, who I essentially trust. I hardly ever go to the warehouse. I
Mhm.
honestly do. I go there maybe if I have to get away from the house to get some air, but he runs the whole operation at the warehouse. I'm truly blessed with him. So, and we have a team of VAs as well that manage our account, that manage our buying, the sourcing, the whole aspect of what we do.
That's fantastic. So you've got 17 on site and then some VAs, or do those
That's
VAs
correct.
count in that 17?
No,
Okay.
that's not including our VAs.
Okay. So 20 plus, something like that. People running a
Correct.
13, soon to be $36 million operation at nice gross margin. I love it, dude. So far, I'm loving this.
Me
And
too.
all wholesale. You said 85% Amazon, and you're selling on a few other platforms too?
Yes, we're starting to roll out Walmart more and more. One of the biggest reasons, and this was kind of a tip that I got from another seller at the conference, he was getting a lot of no's turned into yeses when he brought in Walmart into the picture. So
Mhm.
instead of leading into, hey, I'm an Amazon seller, which I don't encourage anybody to say, by the way, asterisks. But when we say, hey, we sell on Walmart, then Amazon, we've seen a lot more yeses than no's. So we were able to turn no's into yeses. So we're slowly developing that platform, for Walmart.
Yeah, that is a brilliant strategy because I think the perception in the marketplace still, it's like if you're a brand owner, Amazon sellers are a dime a dozen. There's a lot of them out there.
Hmm.
But getting my stuff on Walmart, yeah. They don't even know Walmart has third-party sellers, probably.
That's correct.
What kind of 5-year program did you go through to become qualified to get my stuff on Walmart? That's awesome. I didn't know such a thing existed, right? So you're getting that.
Yeah.
That is a really cool tip that you just dropped, man. Hopefully people, if that didn't strike them as really cool, they need to rewind about 1 minute and listen to that again, because that
Yep.
really does get your foot in the door. You go to a trade show and you're walking around like, yeah, I can get your stuff on Walmart. Like, what? Wow, really? You kidding me?
Hmm.
We've been trying to do that for years. They want us to fill out an application and spend a bunch of money and sit down and do a bunch of negotiations. Like, no, I can get it on there for you, man.
Yep. And the
Little they know all
platform
I
is
had to do is sign
very,
up for a seller account.
yeah. The platform is very intimidating. It's like Amazon was, 10 years ago in terms of getting listings created, and nobody wants to fool with that. So, yeah, absolutely.
It's
So
still
when you
kind of
lead
Wild
into that,
West.
it is.
I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
Jeff Schick, our resident legal expert lawyer guy, he says, don't buy from any third party sellers on Walmart ever if you hope to resell that
Correct.
inventory, because it is a minefield of just
Hmm.
terrible inventory. Sorry, Walmart, but it's true. I mean, there's some real losers on there moving counterfeit goods and everything else, man. So
Yep.
if you're buying on Walmart to flip on
Be
Amazon,
careful.
make sure you're buying from Walmart. Don't buy from anyone else. But as a
Yep.
seller, when you're talking to potential wholesale accounts and you tell them you can get their stuff on Walmart, that will open up doors. I love that tip, man. I wasn't expecting to get that much new knowledge this fast in this episode. I can't wait to tell my team about that one. I love it. Good tip. All right, man. So, we've got this advanced wholesale mastermind. I mentioned it in the introduction. You're going to be heading this up. Let's go ahead and dive in a little bit into who that's for, what it's going to be about, and I'll ask you a few more questions as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is for any of those Amazon sellers or e-commerce business owners. Let me correct myself. Any of these e-commerce business owners that sell on Amazon, that sell on Walmart, that want that extra, that want something else, right? They've got a decent sized business. They got the foundation in place. They understand Keepa. They understand the basics. They know how to create shipment, right? So those are the type of people that I'm looking for. And the format is get into an intimate setting where we can guide each other, and I'll share the wealth of knowledge that I've accumulated over the years, based on different courses that I've taken and previously, as well as the lessons learned that I've had in our business. We've made a lot of, we've made a ton of errors, so the good thing is a lot of people's learning curve can go from here, down to like 2 inches. Just taking some of the strategies that we've learned, that we've implemented for our own company, software that we use that nobody really talks about, in their business, to maintain contacts and relationships. So that's who it's for, man. So if you're doing about $10,000 a month in revenue, roughly, you don't have to be doing exactly. That's a good indicator. Yeah. So,
So you understand the basics, and
mhm,
I would say we've got quite a few people in our community that qualify for that. If you're thinking to yourself right now as a listener, you're like, I don't sell $10,000 a month. Well, you need to get into the Proven Amazon course, learn the REPLENS system. We see many people within 2, 3, 4 months ramp up to that level. You've heard hundreds of those stories on this podcast alone.
mhm.
It's not that hard of a mountain to climb. There's a few hurdles to get over,
No, it's
but
not.
once you're at that point, now you're ready to start talking. You've got that foundation of replens. Carl just mentioned, you mentioned Keepa, right?
Mhm.
That's a vital tool. You need to get into the Proven Amazon course, learn the basics of Keepa. Go listen to podcast episode 369 of this podcast at silentjimdotcom. If you don't know what Keepa is and why it matters, and I can speak for you, Carl, without you even saying the words yourself. You guys wouldn't be at 13 million in revenue heading towards 36 without Keepa. It is a vital component of probably every decision you guys make as far as inventory. So
Absolutely.
you've got to get
Absolutely.
in. I don't care if your goal is to sell 500 a week or 36 million next year. Understanding Keepa is an unfair advantage, and I don't get paid to say that, man. Go get it. So we've determined who this is for. Give us a little bit of insight as to what you're going to go through. Like, I know you're going to do several weeks worth of content, and it's all explained. AdvancedWholesaleMastermind.com is the website. It's all explained
Mhm.
there, but just kind of break it down for me in your own words. What's this experience going to like? What are these modules going to consist of? Where are we going to start? What's kind of like the core skill I'm going to walk away from if I go on this journey with you from your, and I know there's going to be lots of advantages in the relationships and the conversations, but
Mhm.
like, what's the core structure of the content?
Yeah, the core structure of the content is basic. One, we talk about strategies, right? And it's the accountability aspect. we're going to work with you to show you, okay, here, and this is what we actually do in our company. I'll actually engage one of my team members in one of our sessions that shows you bird's eye or, over the shoulder, how we look for brands, how we look for products. And we're going to actually expect you to execute. And by end of the course or by end of the series of the mastermind, you're expected to have at least 10 accounts. You should be able to walk away with at least 10 wholesale accounts. If not, we're going to have a couple of one-on-one sessions to make sure that comes to fruition.
I love it. That's
so
a great deliverable. Yeah. 10 accounts.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to work with you till you get it. That's part of it.
And not just 10 accounts that you've got open, like 10 accounts that you can actually use.
Yeah.
Prices look great. Your metrics or your criteria is met. So it's not just you go on a website and open an account like, okay, I met my quota. No, that's not the way this works.
You make it sound like there's a lot of accounts out there to be discovered still. And
yes.
I know there are, with new ones coming on board every day, right? It is
absolutely.
And I would assume from what I've heard you talk about in the past, the way you've approached it. See, I don't do a whole lot of wholesale myself, but I've heard you talk about the way you guys do it and the way a handful of others kind of follow that same model. Are you starting at Amazon for your research?
Some of it, yes.
Okay.
We use a variety of techniques. We use Amazon. We'll use Smart Scout. That's Smart Scout. I think a lot of people underestimate the powerfulness of that tool and the automation it can provide. And the other tool that we're exploring more into is the Keeper Product Finder. To find wholesale accounts with it. Pretty much putting in the same information, because I know some people are kind of hesitant in paying for Smart Scout. That's cool. You can put the same information into into Keepa, and find different accounts, and go in that direction. But if you're going to, get in this mastermind, put up, the money to do this and commit to this, you're going to use Smart Scout.
Yep.
And
we've got a great relationship with him, Scott Needham. We were one of the first communities he approached when we launched that tool.
The dude's awesome.
And
dude's awesome.
Super smart guy. He actually has one of his warehouses, or had. I think he may have closed that one. It's been a while since I was up there, but right here in my hometown in Indy, I was in there. Impressive operation. But yeah, Smart Scout was designed specifically for the processes you're describing right now. A lot of people use it for a lot of other things, but he's really scraping that data in a creative way and compiling it in a creative way. He actually put together, I believe there's a pretty significant discount. silentjimdotcom/SS. Smart Scout is the link, our community affiliate link, and a discount, I believe, on Smart Scout. But that is a great
3 months free.
Yeah. Very impressive. I remember when he first started building that out, he was sending me demos and like, hey, what do you think? If it did this, would that be impressive? And it does some cool stuff that no other tools do, for sure. I love that that's part of what you're going to be rolling out. So between Keepa and Smart Scout skills, that's kind of the approach. Getting on Amazon, looking for opportunities there as well. So who, we've kind of identified who this isn't for. If you haven't sold $10,000 per month yet, you're not quite there, you don't understand Keepa or REPLENS, it's probably not for you. Is there anyone else in our community of listeners that it might not be for, that you can identify? I can't really think of. I just want to make sure we don't get anyone thinking, oh, that's for me, but when it's not. But if you've got those basic skills, you're good to go, right?
Yeah, if you got those basic skills, you're good to go.
I mean, you're margin.
Expected to have. Yeah, exactly. You're expected to have a little bit of capital, because I don't want you to get 10 wholesale accounts and not do anything with it, right? I mean, because we're going to be coming in, into Q4, so and coming out of Q4, so you're going to need that, right? So yeah, capital, is definitely something we're going to have to consider. And like we talked about earlier,
one of the challenges we run into a lot around here, once somebody starts to get it and the lights come on, is you run out of money before you run out of profitable inventory to chase.
Yeah.
So finding
absolutely,
creative sources of capital. I mean, we even had people at our event. It was hilarious, man. I had a guy who had 30 different credit cards. And he was
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. Rolling through 30 different cards, a different one for each day of the month, and paying them off on time and just roll. Again, that was how he was funding his entire operation, because there's so much inventory out there, man. Finding enough money to go buy the good inventory becomes a challenge.
I'm actually going to be tapping him for one of my Q&As.
Awesome.
Of how you can pay for inventory. Well, not just pay for inventory, but how you can extend your terms, right?
Yes.
Using other people's money.
Yep. Use OPM, other people's money, and get the best terms you can get. That becomes the gig. You're almost a mini CFO in this business, because there's so much opportunity out there to chase.
There is.
You just got to manage
dollar bills floating everywhere
responsibly. All right, so we're covering some good ground. This is going to be in a Facebook group, right? In what
Correct.
Zoom sessions that are recorded for the group,
Correct.
that sort of
Hmm.
thing, right? Over the course
Yes.
of, I think we said about 10 weeks. So all those details are on advancedwholesalemastermind.com, but just filling people in
Mhm.
on what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be in a weekly format over 10 weeks. We'll go over certain topics, ranging from, actual source and strategies, how to manage those contacts, what software we use in our company that's free to manage your contacts, to create the systems so that, when you send an email out, you're not going to forget, right? Because you've got other things going on in your business, and you've got other tasks, and you've got
Mhm.
other things. So
Yeah.
we show you the systems and the SOPs, and that's another deliverable. We're going to give you at least 30 SOPs and systems, you know, that help you in your business. So it is a weekly format. I'll bring in guests every week for a Q&A to talk about different topics that I feel are excellent subject matter experts in these different fields to give you more to bring more value to this into this mastermind. One of which is that person we were just talking about for the master for the credit cards. But yeah, so and it's all recorded 100%.
Outstanding. Well, this is going to be a great experience, and I think one of the possibly overlooked benefits of being a part of something like this in our community is the people in the room with you, outside of Carl and the guests that are going to be on there, and some of the leaders and myself who make appearances. It's going to be the people to the left and the right on the screen, and the masterminds that form and continue well after
Hmm.
this has kind of come and gone, and those relationships and connections. Anytime you're around the serious players in our community, there's magic, there's synergy there, and opportunity there. So another great reason to
Absolutely.
consider this. And I'd like to explain what I meant by that term margin as well earlier. Like, yeah, you want some capital, but you need to have some time in your schedule. This is one of the reasons why I like to see people step off of that hamster wheel of chasing discounts and sales and retail arbitraging, scanning barcodes. Because if you're in that world, yeah, you can make some decent money, but that's going hard 8 to 10 hours every day, and you can't put your nose up out of the water, take a breath of fresh air,
Hmm.
and start something new and spend time studying and forming relationships, because you got to go scurry and hit more yard sales and hit more clearance aisles. Step into replens, build systems, have some time and space in your life. Or even if you're on that hamster wheel, you got to carve out those 3 to 5 hours a week, I'd say, where you're just looking at new ideas, new strategies. We are a multiple income streams community. And this is a beautiful next stream for anyone who's thinking, okay, well, I figured out the Keepa thing, replens, I found some success there, I'm selling some stuff. What else is out there? Because contrast for me, Carl, I would like to hear from you. The traditional way replens are done, finding an ASIN at a time, different sources, different brands, versus finding a wholesale account that I can begin working with. What's the difference there? How is that? Why have you guys gone all in on the wholesale and you're not out doing any traditional RAOA replen hunting anymore?
Yeah, that's correct. So it really boiled down to the goal of our company. What was the goal? For us, and for a while that was evolving, that was changing, but we're feeling hammer out. So you know what? We want to create a tangible asset that we could turn around and sell in 3, 5, whatever years, right? So when you're into something that's such as volatile and great, don't get me wrong, arbitrage can be great business and it does very, very well for a lot of people.
It's a great it's the best foundation. You can't come in
Correct.
cold. There's a reason we're saying $10,000, guys. You can't come in
Hmm.
cold and then kill it with wholesale. Some people can, but vast majority of people are going to fall on their face. There's just too much to.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely. So for us, it came down to like, we want to create a tangible asset that we can sell and having those relationships with wholesale accounts or just with brands and distributors because they're
Mhm.
going to release products and new products. And a lot of times you're going to have first dibs. You're going to be able to, be able to launch those products on behalf of those brands. So that creates a more viable asset for anybody that wants to buy a turnkey business, essentially, that doesn't revolve around somebody making a decision of, hey, I'm going to need to buy 10 of these. Shoot, I need to find something else tomorrow to replace the 10 that I just sold or that I bought yesterday. Right? It's a turnkey. It's a constant turnkey machine. It's a monster.
Yeah,
As the saying says, feed the beast. Right?
yeah,
So and this helps feed the beast. So
yeah, yeah. So, are you in relationships with some of these wholesalers in an exclusive arrangement?
mhm.
Are you helping any of them get their own Amazon accounts, or that's all sold through your account?
So yes, we do have a sprinkle of exclusives. I'm sure some. somebody made fun of me because I said the word sprinkle, but we do have a sprinkle of exclusives in our business. And for a while, it wasn't a big focus of what we do, but we hired a consultant. Like, hey, listen, this is something you expand on because it creates more value for your business when it comes time to sell. Which, okay, it makes sense. So yes, we do have some exclusives. Is it a big focus on what we try to do each and every day? Do we try to go out and try to find exclusives? No, we want that to happen organically. And and here lately, it's been happening organically. But that's not a huge driver. Right now, we're just finding profitable ASINs, going out, reaching out, establishing relationships. Sometimes it takes a while to get that relationship, but no, I mean, we do launch. And somebody had asked me at the Proven conference, "Hey, do you list new products? Do to create new listings?" We didn't for a while, but we are now, just because of the relationship we've established and the exclusivity that we have for these brands. We did partner with somebody to help because some of these brands they still want to stay in their own Seller Central account. They still want us, to have that control. It's not a large part of what we do, and I don't think it's something we want to do right now. So we partner with another person in the community to do that for us. So we got a nice little revenue share because we're handing him business to run those accounts, through his company. So, but yeah, that's what we do and what our focus is on.
So give me a feel for your perspective on, if we had all the wholesalers out there on a pie chart. I think a lot of people are under the impression that 98% of them have been pounded to death by Amazon sellers and they don't want to hear from us anymore. What is the actual, paint us an actual accurate picture? Does that question make sense?
It does make sense, and we do run across that. I'm not going to lie. We do run across, situations where we immediately get a rejection. But because our focus is more on the smaller brands and the smaller accounts, I would say probably 30 to 40% of those have been hammered by Amazon sellers. So however, the larger the brands that we go, the larger volume that they do, the more hammered they are, but the more less discovered they are, just by going to trade shows or going, just relationships. That was a key word he handed. I think Eric and I and Jimmy were talking about that just before the conference started, about relationships and how that would probably be like the key word of the whole conference. But I will tell you, Jim, not to kind of sidewind here, but relationship that we established has been probably the biggest revenue driver for our company, because we did so well. We maintained a great relationship. We weren't in it just to make a dollar. We're in it because we want to provide value for the brand and help them grow. They're like, "Hey man, I got this other guy over here. They need some help, man." And so before you know it, we have more accounts than we could do it.
Just from
And
referral.
so,
Because these
yeah,
guys hang
just
out the same trade shows. You get one of them
yeah.
happy, they're going to tell their
Mhm.
buddies, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they go to different companies, right? I mean, some
Mhm.
of these employees go to different companies, they move on, or
Mhm.
they have another friend at another company. This world is so huge, but it's small too. So, the key word was relationships, man. And that's what's worked really well for me and I suck at relationships. I'll be the first one to tell you, but I've had to focus on a lot in developing that skill set and working and being intentful with relationships and just being there, being present and provide value for these brands. Because I gotta go back and look, like, these brands, distributors, they're manufacturers. You're getting, yes, they are getting hounded every day. So you got to sit yourself apart. Like, what makes you different? What makes you different? What's that key word that's gonna be like, oh man, I really like this person because he said fill in a blank, whatever that is, whether it was Walmart or it was, hey, I want to provide value. I don't want to ride on a coattail to the success of your brand. I actually want to be a part of the success and contribute to that and help grow the brand on a platform. When they see that sincerity, dude, you're gonna have more counts than you can do with.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
I love it. I love the repainting of the pie chart. You thought about 30 to 40% of the wholesalers out there are getting pounded and hounded, but a lot of them are getting very little attention because they're the smaller ones. That's a good tip, right? Some of the smaller brands, they're excited to hear from you, even possibly. And as we're kind of brainstorming through, I like we're kind of building a list of what is the value that you bring to these wholesalers where they would want to pay attention to you. You're focused on the relationship, their long-term success. You're not just saying, "Hey, I want a price list. Give me some good prices. I want to sell on Amazon." Like, no, you're not saying that. You're saying, "I
Hmm.
want to help you grow your brand. I want to get creative with you on Amazon. I know how to navigate the Amazon landscape in ways that a lot of other sellers don't." the thing I like telling people to say is, I'm in a group of tens of thousands of people who live, eat, breathe, and sleep e-commerce, specifically Amazon. And I bet you don't have anybody on your team like that. And they don't. They
No.
make stuff and they ship stuff, and they're logistics companies and they're branding companies. They don't know or care. Amazon, from their vantage point, is this 15 to 20% little monster in the corner that they'd like to ignore, but they know they can't.
Mm-hmm.
For
Mm-hmm.
98% of the company, that's what it is.
Yep.
It,
Absolutely.
they haven't hired somebody full time to address that yet. In most cases, you can be the guy. Like, hey, and I've done this, Carl. I don't know if you sound like you've gone to a few trade shows, but you can do this yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Go to any trade show.
Oh yeah.
Just walk up and say, "Tell me your thoughts on Amazon. Just be honest."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're not going to hear a positive word out of
Nope.
anyone's mouth. You go all 3 days and go to all 800 booths,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And,
And you
yep.
can be the guy that says, you know what? I've dealt with that before, man. Actually, I know a guy. Actually, I'm in a group that handles that. Actually, I know the lawyer you need, or I could just handle that for you if you want for a piece of the sales. You can have so much business.
Yeah.
Our skills are in demand. Um,
Absolutely.
I want to revisit something you said, unless you have anything to add to that point. But you mentioned being very intentional about following up with. It sounds like you guys are using a specific CRM system of some kind, right?
Correct.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's been 3 weeks since we sent that email. Haven't heard back. Time to ping them again. Reminders. Their dog's name, their kid's name, their birthday. Kind of tracking some of that data just to give you
Correct.
that relational advantage. Would you say that's a pretty big part of what you guys do now?
It is. It is. It absolutely is. It's a pretty powerful system because it's free. We all like free stuff, but it's extremely powerful. I mean, there is a paid version of it, but and we only use the paid version because of the additional automations that we wanted and needed for our company. But yes, I mean, it does account for a large part of what we do because we could be so busy with our lives that we once we send that email off, we're already on to something else, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or to the next email or whatever. And before you know it, you can sit there and type an email and be like, yeah, I'll follow up with it next week. Well, your son's probably got a T-ball game. Your wife probably needs you to take a car to get the oil changed and all these different things, plus your business, plus if you're working for somebody, life escapes you, right? So having those automations in place where you get a reminder, hey, follow up on this email, follow up on this email, follow up on this email. All I do is click on it and, generate that email and touch base. And it's funny because a lot of times we don't get a response on the first email. Second response, not so much, but on third and fourth, we get a lot better response. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because they feel, that we're following up. Maybe it's the level of sincerity that's kind of kicked in. I'm not sure, but because of these automations that we have in place with the CRM, it's helped us with our close rates and keeping track on the relationships, keyword relationships.
Yep.
And yeah, just track everything. We can track our metrics. How many people we've engaged with each and every day. We have teams, right? I mean, I'm not going out there beating up for brands. I do sometimes when I get the itch, but I actually have a team that that
You
does all
do
that
that.
for me. So I go in there and be like, okay, what's our engagement for today? I can see how many emails are sent out, how many meetings were booked, all of that.
When you say
And
meetings booked, are you hopping on Zoom with these prospects?
Mhm.
Ideally, good.
Yeah, so it's an option. A lot of times, I like to hop on a Zoom call and talk about, the business and just get to know each other. It's great to have a phone call, but when you can have a Zoom interaction like
Mm-hmm.
what you and I are having right now,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of strengthens. It's like the next best thing besides actually being in person,
Absolutely.
right?
It's at least 10 times better than a phone call as far as close
Yes.
rate and moving the
Hmm.
relationship forward. So anytime I'm doing any kind of sales training of any kind with anybody, it's get them on Zoom if at all possible. Body language and connection is just
Yeah,
shoots up at least 10 times
absolutely.
more powerful than a simple phone call. And a phone call is 10 times more powerful than an email.
Yes,
If
absolutely,
you're relying on just
absolutely.
email, you need to start using the phone. If you're using the phone, you need to start using Zoom. If you're kind of working the Zoom thing at a high level, it's time to start making some trips, man.
Hmm.
And going to your customer's location and taking them to lunch. And like, hey, I'm going to be in your city next week, man. I'd love to take you guys all to lunch, get the whole team out, right? That kind of thing. There's a
Yes.
reason that people do those kinds of things because it really does seal these relationships. When you're playing with a 13 million, soon to be $36 million company, these are the kind of things you have to start thinking about. But these are very practical too for those of us who are just starting to dip our toe in the wholesale water. You're moving
Hmm.
out of that anonymous world of random replens with brands that you're never really going to have a relationship with into building relationships with brands and the advantages that come with that and having access to things that the rest of the world just doesn't get access to. Yeah.
Yep.
So are you guys the exclusive sellers? What percentage would you say of your 13 million represents brands where you guys are the only ones selling that stuff?
I would say it consists about 5% of what we do.
How much?
5%.
5% is exclusive. That's a good thing because I think we were starting to create an image that you've created all these exclusive relationships, and that is not the case.
No,
Yeah, I would have
no.
guessed a little higher than that even. That's
It surprises
fantastic.
a lot of people. It
Yeah,
surprises a
well, I
lot of
mean, the
people.
reason that's fantastic is because a lot of people think, I can't find all these exclusive
Mm,
relationships. That's not the magic here. It's the
no.
underserved wholesalers who haven't been served with excellence. There's
Yeah,
thousands of those guys out there.
yeah. And the word exclusive scares a lot of brands away. We
Sure,
we
why
learned that
wouldn't
from
it?
the get-go. Yeah, right? "Oh, we wanna be your exclusive." Whoa, wait a minute, what?
Wait a second.
And then
Yeah, what
yeah,
makes you so
exactly.
special?
Exactly. So, just having the relationships, "Hey, listen, we just wanna provide value. We're not asking for exclusivity. We respect, other sellers you may have relationships with. We just wanna provide value." And then we let the relationship happen organically into a potential exclusive, and almost all our exclusive have ended up in that direction. There's probably 1 or 2 that were just exclusive right from the get-go because that's what they wanted. They wanted somebody, one person to come to the platform, clean up all the listings, and carry it forward. But I
Yeah.
think that was an exception, not the norm. Actually,
Yeah.
that is the exception, not the norm, right? So,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's a good point, man. I mean, again, like I said earlier, it's not a huge focus of what we're wanting to do.
So with that answer, I've got to assume there is a bit of a churn here. Certainly there is of great brands that you work with for a period of time and do well. And then suddenly, because you're not exclusive and you're not necessarily even
Mhm.
requesting that because there's plenty of brands to serve, but over time, maybe a little slower than the traditional replens model. Well, we're happy if something lasts 3 to 6 months. Like that was a winner, man. With wholesale, what are the typical experiences like you're starting to notice now that you've worked with what? I'm assuming dozens, if not hundreds, of wholesalers at this point.
Yeah, we've got more than dozens, that's for sure.
Mhm.
So I would say the experience. I can't exactly quantify the percentage, but I would say the experience is much better with the asterisks. There's always the asterisks, right? So I will tell you that going directly with the brands, you're going to have a much better experience in the stability of the listings. Whereas if you go to distributors, you're probably that stability is lessened to a degree because a lot of these distributors will offer promos, promotions, clearance, discounts, once a quarter or whatever. And so those are the instances where we're like, oh man, you know, getting the product at a third of the cost of what it was last month is great. But it's like you can watch Keepa, and you can also see who else has had access to that distributor account.
All the other
Um,
sellers paying attention to the sales and discounts. Mhm.
Yep, exactly. But I will tell you, we have a lot more stability in the buy box, but maintaining, some
Long-term stability of the ASIN.
yes, long term stability of the ASINs because
Mhm.
of the relationships. Do we have turnover? Absolutely, we do. We get people that come on the listings, because they're able to get Walmart at clearance or whatever, and or they just don't want to make money. I don't know, and they take the listings or the listings get suppressed, or get shut down or
For whatever reason. Yeah,
whatever reason.
the inventory gets discontinued. I mean,
Hmm.
you're basically facing all the same exact challenges that a replen seller chases or
Oh,
experiences.
mhm.
The replens experience is such a great foundation for this industry because it
It
kind of
is.
sets you up for all the other stuff that's going to happen out there in the
Hmm.
real world as you claim the ladder of increased opportunity and risk. You need more money. There's more moving parts, right? You're going to need a little bigger team. You need to improve your
Hmm.
leadership abilities a little bit. Like,
Hmm.
Carl Jacoby
Hmm.
that I knew 5 years ago, would he be capable of running this operation? Probably
Hmm.
not. You've learned a lot of
Hmm.
lessons. You've gotten hit in the head by a
Oh
two
yes.
by four a few times. I know those stories. And it's kind of shaped you into this guy who's capable of these big, important, these bigger numbers. The commas and zeros don't scare you. I mean, if we'd have told Carl Jacoby 5 years ago, hey, you're going to be sitting on a $13 million business, getting ready to take it to 36, you'd have probably passed out. I knew that guy, right?
Yeah. I would have,
So you
for the
start at
people.
you start and you scale into these things over time, and that's why I always call this a leadership journey. You're a poster child for that, man. I mean, even just getting you on stage and speaking at our events and such like that, that terrifies you. Now you're just like, hey, man, yeah, this is what we do. This is what we're about, and it came so naturally this last time. You did such a great job for us at the event, and I
Appreciate
love
it.
seeing you step into this role, man. I think you've got a ton of value to present to the people who jump into this. Again, it's advancedwholesalemastermind.com. Is there anything else we need to hit that kind of helps tell the story, paint a picture of what you're doing or what people can expect before they go check that out and join you? It's
Yeah, absolutely, man. So if anybody's like me, man, it really boils down to, you could take courses all day, every day, and at the end of the day, man, for me, I much rather be into an intimate environment with other like-minded sellers that each we could grow from each other, right? Because everybody's got their different range of experiences in life, in their business. Somebody may throw, I mean, we were talking bombs, at the Proven conference outside, outside one of the main presentations. And it's like, you won't have that experience in a course. So in this mastermind, my goal is to have that experience of learning from each other, not just learn from me. It's not really just learn from me, but learn from other experiences and tips that everybody else brings to the table, and have that accountability. Have that, hey, I have this problem, and have a real time discussion. Oh, you know what? I had that problem too, and here's how we fix it. Or, man, I didn't have that, but did you try this? Right? Just having that intimate environment and knowing that you're going to be held accountable. Like, hey, you're expected to get 2 wholesale accounts. That's just not a sell point. You're expected to have that. You're going to have 30 systems and SOPs. So there's going to be deliverables. You're going to be held accountable because I want you to succeed, right? I mean, this isn't about Carl. This is about, other entrepreneurs being successful in this and growing from 10,000, 20,000. Heck, I want to be bigger than, that comes out of this mastermind, be bigger than what I am, So,
absolutely.
yeah. So that's my closing statement, Jim.
Yeah, well, I
If I
love
had
that
one.
I love that you've kind of grown into this leader of achievement and passion and integrity. There's a podcast episode that came out just today as we're recording this. I recorded it with one of the other students in our community who's I think is an emerging leader, and I think that's part of the role I've begun playing around here is kind of identifying and tapping and kind of giving a gentle shove to those emerging leaders because we've got a big stage, man. We could use 100 more leaders. Well, what is a leader? It's someone who, yes, they've achieved, yes, they've got a teacher's heart. But the other qualification that I'm starting to really appreciate is someone who's been humbled. And maybe not in business, but yeah, business life, something just like they had a plan, they had a trajectory, and then out of left field, smack. And then they've had to pick themselves up and keep going because there's
Hmm.
something you can only get from that. And no, without diving into it, I'm just thinking of the different leaders who are really valued around here. We got 100 of
Hmm.
us at this point, which is crazy, but it's hard for me
It
to think of
is.
many exceptions where within the last 3 to 5 years they didn't get just smacked flat on their butt, and then this community supported, picked them up, brushed them
Hmm.
off, and here they are again. And now, man, that's just there's something special about, achievement plus teacher's heart plus you've been humbled because life hits you out of left field. And it could have been a
Yep.
family, a sickness, it could have been something unexpected, it could have been a business thing. It doesn't matter what it is, but you just got smacked and you needed to lean into the community to get back to standing. It's just a new appreciation. So I really appreciate
It
the
does.
journey you've been on, man. And I consider you a brother and a friend. And I am super excited, dude, to
Yeah.
get the
Appreciate it,
right
man.
people into this thing with you. Advancedwholesalemastermind.com and launching soon. I don't have the exact date to share right now because we're recording this before we've set the date. But all the details, the pricing, the discounts if you're a coaching student or a proven Amazon course student, discounts for you guys. And we may fill this up because you've used the word intimate a few times. We haven't set that cap yet. We'll probably put it on the sales page though of how many people can we take and do this. We may do a round two if there's a lot of more demand than we can service. But great episode of a podcast. I think you've provided some great information. One thing I
Appreciate it.
wouldn't mind hearing is if this isn't right for somebody, if this course isn't necessarily a good fit for them, but they want to start to dip their toe in wholesale. What's that like? I'm not quite ready for the mastermind. I'm not quite there at the $10,000 a month. I haven't. That's not even on my radar yet. But wouldn't mind playing a little bit with wholesale. What do I look for? What do I do? I think that'd be a good ending tip, and then we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, so I guess the best way to kind of tip your toes is look at what you're currently selling, whether it's in the grocery store, regional store, industrial store. I mean, there's so many different stores you can go to. Look what you're currently selling and reach out to the distributor. Then reach out to the brand, right?
Yeah.
So I will tell you that our approach is going twofold. We go to the brand and we go to the distributor. But your barrier to entry is going to be a lot lower with the distributor, and you're
Distributors.
going to have access, yeah, to the distributors, and you're going to have access to not just that one brand. You're going to have access to a plethora of brands,
Mhm.
and oftentimes you'll have better pricing with the distributor because they have better buying power, right? I mean, if you don't have a whole lot of capital, that's probably going to be your optimal route. And plus, you could probably get terms with the distributor. I mean,
Yep.
nearly every supplier we have terms.
Yep.
But going that route and staying persistent, right? And that's where I see a lot of people get frustrated within the very first week, 2 weeks, because they just get frustrated. And and that's why you said start at the REPLENS model. That should be like 101, really, right? It's almost like a college course, but setting that foundation and staying persistent, staying relentlessly persistent in that process of reaching out. Whether it's 5 brands a day, 1 brand a day. Hell, if you just reach out to 1 brand a day, imagine where you'd be in 6 months from now. If you just reach
Yep.
out to just one, right?
Yeah. Right.
So staying persistent in that process and relentlessly follow through, really, regardless if you feel like it, regardless if you're sick, regardless if you're in a bad mood, regardless if whatever, fill in the blank. And I'm telling myself this too, because I fall through to that as well, man. I get in a bad mood. I don't feel like doing anything. Nothing's working for me. And I want to do what I need to do. But that would be my ultimate tip for those people that are like, yeah, I'm not ready for this mastermind, not ready for an intimate environment. That's cool. Look at what you're currently selling. Then slow, reach out, tip your toes. Reach out to 1 brand a day. Let that be your goal. One. Just do one a day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And you can look on the box, any
Hmm.
product you buy, distributed by, most of the time,
Yeah.
or you can Google it. Who distributes brand X? Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Send it,
absolutely.
start
You go to the
sending some
store, man.
emails out, start getting some
Yeah.
no's. You know you're doing it right when you start hearing a steady stream of no, not interested, or steady stream of people ignoring you. Maybe I should reach back out to them. Right. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how the game is played. And you guys have just systemized that and built, man, 13 million, dude. That's so awesome. I love it. Heading for
For sure.
36. Well, beautiful story, man. Beautiful trajectory. And thank you for being a leader of integrity and quality of character. And man, you're just doing a great job for us. It's always good to hang
Thanks,
out
man.
with you, Carl. Appreciate you,
Yeah, it's
buddy.
good to hang with you. I appreciate your support, brother.
Thank you, man. Well, hey, let's wrap this one up. Talk to the listeners for just a second. You joined Carl and I for a really good episode today. Hopefully, you feel encouraged and inspired, and the future looks brighter than it did before the show started today. That's the whole point of what we do around here. We want you to feel like the future looks bright based on the stuff you're learning here, because it is. You should. We live in the greatest time in human history to launch and grow a business thanks to the internet. And this is just more evidence of that today. So be inspired, be encouraged. If this happens to be the first episode you've ever heard and you want to hear hundreds of interviews with people like Carl early in their journey, maybe their first $10,000 a month, their first $30,000 a month, those kinds of stories, we got hundreds of them. Just scroll back in time. Silentjim.com is the link. If you're ready to get started, get into the proven Amazon course. There's a link to that as well at silentjim.com, and our coaching, silentjim.com. That's the only link you need as a fan of this show. We'll have another great episode for you again very soon. Thanks for hanging out with us today. God bless all the business building warriors. We'll talk to you soon.